Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the vocal chain, right? How did we record David? How did we record my vocals? What microphone did we use? What plugins? Let's get into it. First off, I want to show you the final vocals, right? Because after we had all the writing down, we actually, remember, I brought David back in and we recorded the final vocals, which was, as you can see, a lead vocal with double stacks left and right, and a lead, right? So here's his lead, melodined everything, vocal lined everything, made sure everything was very, very tight and precise. If you don't know what those tools are, you should definitely tap in with them. Tuning software and sample aligning, like sample accurate aligning with vocal line and auto align. So all the doubles, all the stacks were aligned perfectly. Check it out.
We'll be outside in the rippers out of sunrise. We won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away cause we can't go home. Driving down the coastline, staring at your best side. Oh, cause we're just kids in love. Yeah, it feels like summer.
So you can hear it's a very warm vocal, and the reason it's so warm is because of the process we use. So I'm going to break down that process. First of all, I brought David in to retrack the vocals using a Slate digital mic. When I use the Slate digital mic, I come to my console and I clear everything off here. So you have the chain here. And for this mic right now, it's a TLM 103, which is a transformerless microphone, and it's very, very clean. So I add a lot of color through Neve 88RS preamps and all this other stuff. But when I'm going through the Slate mic, I just pick the cleanest in. Like, I don't even use typically a preamp emulation. And then it hits Logic, and I use the virtual mix, obviously, the microphone modeling. And for this, I use the FG47 MK2, which looks like it's part of, it's like an extended tube series. Yeah, classic tubes. And yeah, there's some great mics in here. I love it. I think this is a very powerful setup and plugin. I got the mic for like $500-600. It's like kind of a no-brainer. And then I got the classic tubes like on sale for like $99 or something. So definitely a great setup. I have a booth here. It's completely soundproof. It's very, very tight, which really helps with the recording, right? Like, I don't have to worry about all the noise. I can compress harder. I can EQ and do whatever I want. I can saturate, and I'm not worried about like, oh, am I saturating also a car sound and a bird and a dog barking? You know? And I know a lot of people don't get that benefit, but that really helps with making a really punchy, tight vocal, and why David pays me the big bucks. Then I have this EQ in here, and I'm just doing a low lift. As you can see, this is in, and I'm just pushing a little bit of punchy. I don't know what that is. The punchy is probably around like 500, 250. I don't know. Just bring that up. It's nice. Gives it a nice little body and punch. Very light auto-tune even after melodining. What I do is retune speed at 25. Never use the humanize unless you're trying to blend your dry and wet signal. Sometimes I use that, but sometimes it makes it sound weird. But I do like the texture of auto-tune. It makes it sound more pop, makes it sound more shiny. A little bit of that like digital glaze, if you will. C major, alto, just kept it on there. EFX, very, very basic. And then CLA 3A. Waves makes amazing plugins. I love Waves. I work with Waves, all the time in every session. You can get away with using some amazing plugins with very low CPU usage, and that's why I use the Wave stuff. But this LA3A is amazing. It's very smooth. It's an awesome opto vocal compressor. I've used it in so many formats, even 500 series custom LA3As, just for like toning and like, catching overs, but it has a great tone to it. Classic for me. I'm always going to use the 1176 on a vocal. Makes everything sound like a record. In this case, I'm attacking pretty medium, which is still very fast. Releasing pretty fast, 4-to-1. Probably going pretty heavy on that, maybe 5 to 7 dB of compression, and I'll show you guys. And then de-esser. This is a classic de-esser from Waves again. Super low CPU usage, right around the 55 area. 5500 is where I find a lot of sibilance in male vocals. So I use that, and then I use the side chain, which means I'm really focusing in just on that. I'm not doing, like a high pass sort of band. I'm doing an actual band pass. And then I'm just probably de-essing a little bit there. LA2A, CLA2A, right? This is a great one as well. Yeah, just compressing a little bit there and holding it together. And then here we go. Now, after all that stuff, I get a little peaks, because you're compressing, you're bringing the peaks out. Like if there's a peak in his 2K area. So I toned that down a little bit because I wanted the vocal really warm and kind of poppy. I want it pop. So I don't want it to hurt your ears. I don't want it to be brittle. And I find that these areas get pretty harsh and brittle. 2100, 2200 area, and then like the 1400. And then boxy kind of weirdness in the 418. Just little dips, simple stuff. And then I'm rolling out the top. But then I'm also kind of shelving up the top. I find this to be a very, very effective way of making the vocals sound nice and shiny and glossy without them getting really sibilant and really bright and over bright and hurting your ears. Because I do want this to kind of feel a little retro and warm. And then lastly, I have a Pro DS, which I love, FabFilter, focusing in on that same area, 5500 to about 12K. Single vocal split band mode, and that's just doing some de-essing. Just because once you're doing all this stuff, you want to de-ess at the end. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, yo, what reverb do you use? I'm like, R-verb? Like straight up, it's just a R-verb plate. So I don't like the top. I don't like the bottom. And that's what I do. Pre-delay I always mess around with, and this is like 40% wet, which is pretty heavy for me. Typically, I'm doing like pretty light on the wet dry with reverbs. But this one just felt like it needed to be like spacious and fun, and so that's what it is. So that is the lead vocal. You have the doubles and stuff, and I typically just copy down my strip that I use, and then I'll tweak some things, right? Like this has the same thing all the way through, but I might tweak the compression. You don't see like a de-esser at the end here. The Pro Q3 is doing some different stuff, right? I'm cutting up at 8700, 27, 400, and I'm rolling the top out, and I'm not boosting it up on the doubles, right? So that's just kind of, because the doubles kind of thicken. They're not necessarily there to be like really brilliant. And then the R-verb is a little bit drier, 23%. Same thing, plate one. Hogarth vocal verb, and then I tweak it. And then all these vocals go into the vocal mix bus that I've created here. And again, I shape, right? I get rid of all the bullshit down here below 100. Typically, I can go really high on vocals depending on where they're sitting. This one's like, yeah. It's like pretty high up here. So it's up here. If it was like down and I'm like that, then I obviously wouldn't cut as high. So I look for where the register is. And then 2.8, like look at these little cuts. These are very, very subtle. Not even a dB, 0.78 dB, 0.8 dB, 600. I'm popping a little bit up on the 1K area, a little bit down on the 5700, and then glossing up at 30K at just about a dB. And then the BX Digital SSL, love it. Amazing plugin. I like all the SSL plugins on vocals. They're really great. Any SSL is good. A little virtual gain. Looks like we're doing some, up here, we're doing just some shelving again. I'm always using shelving and cleaning, sweeping out stuff, filtering, sorry, not shelving. It looks like we might have, no, there's no compression in, I don't think. So 16K, I'm boosting a little bit of top, cutting a little bit at 7K. Probably got too sibilant, too much for me, too sparkly. 1.4, boosting half a dB. Like, I mean, this is like getting ridiculous, right? 125, I'm boosting 3.6 dB. That's a big one, right? So body, it looks like for this one. And then Pro DS, again, I'm de-essing. Always just clean. Shape clean. Like it's like working with clay, right? And then lastly on this, I have the UAD Harrison 32C console EQ, which is amazing. I love it. Why don't we just play this and bypass all the vocal mix bus so you can hear what it's doing.
We'll be outside in the rippers out of sunrise. We won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away 'cause we can't go home. Driving on the coastline, staring at your best side. 'Cause we are, we're just kids in love.
So that's like my pop gloss, that's in your face kind of vibes. And, you know, here we're not doing much. We're pushing up a little bit of 500 area. We are pushing a little bit of the 4K area, and we're pushing a little more gloss high end. And this is just a really beautiful, colorful, you know, nice, warm EQ. It's, you know, what Michael Jackson records were made on, the Harrison console. So, you know, Bruce Sweden, I think that's how you say his name, but he used this, and I just love it. I think it's great on guitars, vocals, all that stuff. So that is the vocal chain for David, and that's what it's all going through. And then there were some things like that didn't make it. Here's an ad lib that didn't make it. We were trying to pop that in there, and we kind of write these parts as we were finishing up the main vocals, but I'll let you hear what that sounded like.
We'll be outside in the reposado sunrise. We won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away 'cause we can't go home. Driving on the coastline.
Vocal production stuff is like all my bag. I'm sitting here going, David, you got to do this. You got to try this. You got to do that. So the sunrise thing, I told him to do this, and the can't go home, and like try to get those little ad libs in those pockets. But we later decided, you know what? Let's let the little guitar lick speak there instead of the sunrise. We just need to find like that pocket with the drums. You know what I mean? I think like just making it fun, you know, because it felt a little forced, and we wanted to have something else speaking. And then the can't go home like really helps bring the energy up. Here's what the doubles sound like by themselves, just so you guys can hear. Actually, let's just pop them out of here and just show you how much they're filling out the vocal. So this is just with the lead, one vocal, no doubles on left and right.
We'll be outside in the reposado sunrise. We won't sleep so we're not alone. Run away 'cause we can't go home. Driving down the coastline, staring at your best side.
So the doubles really help thicken the vocal, make it a little bit more pop, a little more fun, a little more energy to it. It just feels right. I like doubling vocals. I do it a lot of the times, but if I double vocals, I'm doing a left and a right. I'm not doing like, and I'm keeping them really tight. Like I don't want it to sound all flangy and weird. Like it's not an actual 90s record. You know what I'm saying? And then we got harms. Anytime I do a harm, I do a left and a right. These little parts that, I do a middle, a left and a right with the woes. On the woes, I use a little bit of saturation with Saturn 2. Just in the middle, it looks like, and maybe a little bit at the top. So we're driving a little bit with warm tape. It just kind of helps that have a different color to it, different texture. And again, I'm using just our verb, just a little wetter. Same verb though. Like I'm not trying to go crazy with different verbs and stuff. This is a pop record. It's tight. It's doing its thing. And then just harmonies, the chorus, I start to stack it up a little bit more. So I have harmonies from David. I have these, we pop these stacks in, the harmony, you know, the, this shit right here.
Yeah, it feels like summer when you love someone.
So these were really cool, and he had these in, he put these in, and I was like, dude, these are dope. So I moved those and like put them in the chorus and made sure that they were the way I kind of heard them in my head. Using a little Maserati on here, you know, kind of gives it a nice depth. I think that actually David had that on his chain. Yeah, this is probably his chain, just minus the auto-tune. So I popped the auto-tune on. Need to make sure that it's very in tune. Again, very slow retune speed. Everything's melodined. I melodyne all vocals always. Unless they don't need it, then I don't tune them at all. And I might do very light auto-tune. Sending to a Valhalla vintage verb for a lot of depth and a lot of vibe, right? So that's huge. And then we have the vocal comp. This is what David had this on as well. This is just a parallel compression. And that's what these sound like on their own, like this. Highly effective, very, very cool texture in the background, adds a lot of depth to the chorus and opens it up. I thought that was really dope. Yeah, there's like little different ad-libs and stacks down here, you know, just little things that are punching. And then I have Bradley comes in, me. I'm the guy that comes in later on chorus 2. So I don't actually stack my vocals in until chorus 2 to make the chorus bigger. But let's go through my vocals. Let's go through what the chain was and how I set those up.